On Tuesday, the International Solidarity and Human Rights Mission will travel from Argentina to Peru in order to observe and register human rights violations complaints in the country amid ongoing repression at hands of police and military forces. In Ecuador, with the electoral victory of the Citizen Revolution movement and the defeat of the yes option in the popular consultation, President Guillermo Lasso called for a national dialogue. The government of Türkiye advances in the search for victims after the 7.8 magnitude earthquake hit the country as the combined death toll in Syria and Türkiye rose to over 4,000 people. Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Tuesday, Peru hits the 2-month mark since the impeachment of former President Pedro Castillo, which has led to massive protests and more than 60 deaths due to police repression as the political crisis worsens. When on December 7th, former President Pedro Castillo was ousted and Dina Boluarte took office as head of state, she said she would remain in office until 2026, something that helped ignite the streets in various parts of the country. The massive marches against the government in various parts of the country do not seem to have been enough for the executive and the legislative to agree to approve an early election, announce resignations, show of any self-criticism, or make an effort to dialogue with the demonstrators to calm the situation. Rather, the government has tightly clung to its position, disregarding the people's request, as the social and political crisis becomes even deeper. Meanwhile, protests against the government of Dina Boluarte continue as the region of Ayacucho continues its indefinite strike with the participation of several social sectors in the past days. 22 people were preventively arrested and another 27 were sentenced for alleged acts of vandalism. Social movements affirm that the rulings confirm the worsening of judicial persecution against popular protests in the country. On Tuesday, the International Solidarity and Human Rights Mission will travel from Argentina to Peru in order to observe and register human rights violations complaints in the country amid ongoing repression at hands of police and military forces. The International Human Rights Mission announced its departure in the context of the ongoing repression of social protests in Peru that began after the ousting of former President Pedro Castillo on December 7th and has so far killed dozens of civilians. The delegation is composed of Argentinian social leader Juan Grabois and national deputies and several social movement leaders and activists with experience in international affairs. The mission, which intends to show Latin American support to the struggle of the Peruvian people, has been summoned by different Peruvian human rights, social and farmer organizations to record on site the different acts of harassment demonstrators are facing. After the press conference that launched the international mission, Gonzalo Armua, one of the delegation members, talked to teleSUR about the importance of this mission in the context of the brutal repression unleashed in the Andean country.
The purpose of this mission is to make visible the violation of human rights that the Peruvian state is carrying out against these demonstrations and to submit a report to different human rights organizations and international bodies in order to at least try to mitigate the repression that is being unleashed. This mission is made up of different social organizations, human rights organizations and trade unions from Argentina who have shown their solidarity and have responded in this way to the call of different Peruvian movements, human rights organizations and Peruvian lawyers who ask us to travel to the territory. That is why this mission is leaving today, Tuesday, February 7th, for Peru. The idea is to arrive in Lima and then be able to travel to the different affected areas and be able to meet with relatives and victims of the repression. In this way, we are putting our grain of sand, a sample of this solidarity, of this brotherhood of the Latin American great homeland, as we have already done in 2019 in Bolivia after the COP, in 2021 in Colombia against the national strike, and in Ecuador in 2022 also, against the mobilization and the subsequent repression of the Lasso government. This is the 4th edition and we hope to contribute to Latin American unity, but above all to show solidarity with the broader people of Peru.
In an exclusive interview for the Peruvian media El Salto, the former Peruvian President Pedro Castillo denounced that he fears for his life due to the political persecution exercised against him. The former president said that he fears for his life at this moment, warning that he has faced political persecution since he was in the presidential campaign, assuring that the far right was furious against him and his family. He also added that they defamed him, accused him of terrorism, and have never let him develop his government's goals. The harassment was constant and incited hatred and racism, said Pedro Castillo. During the interview, he was asked about the role of the extractivist, neoliberal and capitalist oligarchy, to which Castillo responded that it has been part of the coup out of fear that government would review their contracts. His government wanted to rescue Camisea gas and lithium from the region. He pointed out, according to Pedro Castillo, the whole problem in Peru has to do with lithium. Imperialism wants lithium and his government wanted to give it to the people, concluded the Latin American leader. In Ecuador, with the victory of the Citizen Revolution movement and the defeat of the yes option in the popular consultation, the President Guillermo Lasso called for a national dialogue. President Lasso addressed the nation and acknowledged his defeat after supporting the yes option on the referendum and called on all political forces to build a great agreement. He indicated that voters' pronouncement was a call from the people to the government, the political leadership, and the state, for which he indicated that he will not avoid responsibility. The President interpreted that the rejection marks the citizens' tiredness with the conflicts among politicians and demands from them a coordinated work to attend priority issues such as security, employment, health, education, and social assistance. Let us now take a short break, but first remember you can follow us on TikTok at the account at teleSUR English, in which you'll be able to see news in different formats, news updates, and much more. All the stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. The government of Turkey advances in the search for victims after the 7.8 magnitude earthquake that hit the country. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan declared a 3-month state of emergency in 10 Turkish provinces affected by the earthquake. Erdogan said 70 countries had offered help in search and rescue operations and that Turkey planned to open hotels in the western resort of Antalya to temporarily house people who had been affected. He added that the death toll in Turkey had risen to 3,549 people.
Currently, we have 3,549 casualties and 22,168 wounded. Our greatest consolation is that more than 8,000 of our citizens have been rescued alive from under the rubble so far. I would like to remind the general public that no one should use the roads leading to and within the earthquake zone unless it is compulsory, and telephone calls should not be made except for urgent needs.
The Syrian Ministry of Health announced on Tuesday that the death toll from the earthquake rose to 812, while 1,448 were injured in government health areas. The organization assured that the number of victims were reported in the most affected provinces such as Aleppo, Latakia, Hama, Idlib, rural areas, and Tartus. The entity clarified that this figure may increase and that all health care in all centers and institutions, whether public or private, are on alert and working at maximum capacity. It also explained that medical convoys are instantly arranged in the governorates, be it ambulances equipped and staffed mobile clinics, emergency supply vehicles and medicines, and sent to the affected areas. Meanwhile, in the country's rebel held northwest, the White Helmets Rescue Organization reported at least 790 fatalities and 2,200 wounded. The Turkish government announced on Tuesday hundreds of goods storage containers had been burned as a result of the strong earthquake that left more than 5,000 dead in this country and in Syria. Currently, the fire continues to advance in the Iskenderun port facilities located in the province of Hatay, near Kahramanmaraş, one of the most affected by the earthquakes. Local media indicates that most of the affected containers had not been unloaded and had been overturned after the first earthquake of magnitude 7.8 on the Richter scale. During the day, a large column of smoke could be seen over the port, where firefighters continue rescue work and firefighting. The first planes carrying supplies and specialized personnel to assist in earthquake rescue efforts arrived on Tuesday in Syria from Iraq, Iran, Algeria, and Russia. Baghdad sent 2 aircraft, each carrying about 70 tons of food, medical materials, and other supplies, and more shipments are expected to follow, as the neighboring country has announced an airlift for this purpose. According to the official media, a plane also arrived at Damascus International Airport from Iran, one of the main allies of the Syrian government, and which has promised at least 2 other shipments that will land directly in the northwestern provinces of Aleppo and Latakia, 2 of the most affected by the earthquake. Rescue brigades from the Mexican Army, Navy, and Red Cross Department to Turkey to aid in the rescue efforts in search of survivors from the devastating earthquake that struck Ankara and Syria. The Mexican presidency said these were top-level and well-equipped specialists that will travel to the quake-hit area. After saluting the brigades at Mexico City International Airport, Turkey's ambassador to Mexico, Ilhan Kemaltuk, said the strategic partnership between both countries reached another level with this gesture. Many governments have rushed to send aid personnel and equipment to help the rescue efforts in the affected areas of Turkey and Syria. The head of the UN Syria Commission, Paulo Pinheiro, has urged the International Commission for a comprehensive ceasefire in the country on the aftermath of the worst earthquake to hit the region in decades. Given that Syria is already a country devastated by 12 years of crisis and war, the Commission argues in a communique that the ceasefire is a must to enable humanitarian workers and rescuers to reach those in need without fear of attacks. The Commission thus urges the international community to act rapidly to provide humanitarian aid and support, and calls on all parties to provide immediate and unfettered humanitarian access to all areas affected by the earthquakes in order to provide life-saving assistance. Pinheiro said that this is the time for solidarity, for many Syrians are now without shelter among collapsed buildings in the rain and the snow, amid freezing temperatures, while still untold numbers remain trapped beneath the rubble. On Monday, international experts joined Chile's frantic fight against devastating drought-fueled forest fires that have killed 26 people, injured hundreds, and destroyed more than 1,100 homes in less than a week. Officials said the blazes in south-central Chile, some 280 of which were still burning, have consumed about 270,000 hectares of land, an area larger than the country of Luxembourg. The alarm was raised against over a new surge in temperatures starting on Tuesday. Interior Minister Carolina Toja told reporters that in 5 days of fires, an area was destroyed equivalent to what is usually burned in 2 years of fire. The minister also said that Chile was becoming one of the countries most vulnerable to fires due to climate change due to climate conditions. Hundreds of volunteer firefighters work 12 to 18 hours a day fighting forest fires near central Chile's Santa Juana commune, one of the most affected areas.
Our work has to be as controlled and professional as possible, but I think the most dramatic thing is to be able to see the situation of the people who are running out of their homes, without their family, without their animals, and are totally destitute.
It has been painful. We received technical training to control emergencies, but there are many things that we are not prepared for, such as emotionally seeing people's desperation.
We have more news coming up after a final short break, so don't go away. Welcome back from the south. The government of Turkey advances in the search for victims after the 7.8 magnitude earthquake that hit the country. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan declared a 3-month state of emergency in 10 Turkish provinces affected by the earthquake.
To do that, they have started supplies of heavy offensive weapons and openly called on Ukraine to seize our territory. Such steps effectively draw NATO countries into the conflicts and could lead to an unpredictable level of its escalation.
China said on Tuesday that it is determined to defend its right and interests in the face of Washington's refusal to return the wreckage of a scientific balloon shot down after it had entered U.S. airspace driven by winds. The Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Mao Ning argued that the balloon belongs to China and not to the United States in response to Pentagon spokesman John Kirby's comments that Washington would retain the device. She insisted on the need to handle the matter in a calm, professional manner and without military implications, and reiterated it was a force majeure event and that the device was civilian. The entry of the balloon into the U.S. sky created a new focus of bilateral tension because the White House shut it down on Saturday, considering that it was carrying out espionage activities, and also canceled the visit to China of the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. Finland's Foreign Minister Pekka Haavisto reaffirmed on Tuesday that his country's goal is to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization alongside Sweden. Haavisto's comments came despite growing concerns that Finland could join NATO alone if Turkey maintains its veto on Swedish membership. Ankara has indicated on several occasions that it does not oppose Finland's membership, but it suspended negotiations with Sweden for allowing pro-Kurdish demonstrators and the burning of a copy of the Quran on Swedish territory. French trade unions launched a third wave of nationwide strikes on Tuesday against President Emmanuel Macron's plans to make the people work longer before retirement. As the bill began its passage through Parliament, unions urged the public to again take to the streets in large numbers, with workers across multiple sectors walking out. The new bill states that people must work 2 years longer, meaning until the age of 64, for most, in order to keep the budget of the pension system. Meanwhile, Labour Minister Olivier Dussopt dismissed opposition accusations that the government was in denial of the scale of street protests across the country and said change was needed. In the United Kingdom, nurses are to continue industrial action on Tuesday, urging Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's government to negotiate at the biggest strike in the national health system history. Nurses are set to strike at 73 trusts in England, up from 55 during January's strike days. Pat Cullen, the Royal College of Nursing General Secretary, stated Rishi Sunak is letting the country's most important and beloved institution deteriorate rapidly, urging him to come to the table and negotiate better payment and working conditions for the healthcare workers. Monday was the largest strike in NHS history, as tens of thousands of workers in England joined in. The President of the United States, Joe Biden, will deliver his State of the Union address on Tuesday in front of a new Republican majority in the lower house determined to thwart his agenda. Biden's speech takes place in a context of increasing tensions with Beijing, fan after the shooting down by Pentagon planes of a Chinese civilian balloon dedicated to meteorological research. For his part, local media referred to the guests at the Capitol, among which are the parents of the Tyre Nichols, the young African-American who was killed by Memphis police officers on January 7th. Ukraine's ambassador to the United States, Oksana Markarova, will also be in attendance. Local press believes that Biden will address priority issues of his presidency and will offer a primetime review of a re-election message for the 2024 elections. According to analysts, the president's second congressional testimony will focus on the federal debt, the economy, and police reform. The debt limit issue is one of the most pressing, and the call for raising its ceiling without the budget cuts demanded by the Republican Party is expected. Another item on the agenda would be a police reform due to the growing brutality of that force. Experts stress that Biden will not overlook immigration policy either, given the impossibility of reaching a bipartisan immigration agreement for years. The Reserve Bank of Australia hiked its benchmark interest rate for a ninth consecutive time on Tuesday. The rate was increased by 25 basis points to 3.35%. In this sense, Treasurer Jim Chalmers told Parliament that the rate hikes, which began in May last year, had put further pressures on Australia's households. This extends the record run of hikes to 9 meetings in a row as it tries to cut inflation, as the Reserve Bank indicated that there are further increases to come. We have come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.